Well, it's good morning from the cows of Cambacho. These guys are doing a little bit of grazing and laying biomass on the ground and fertilising. So what we've got here is, as we pan around, this will show you the volume of grass that's grown here since the autumn equinox. So here we are, Easter Monday 2025. We're a month out from the autumn equinox. These are my tree lines across the fence here where this tall grass is. So I've been up either side of these tree rows a month ago with a slasher, just so I can actually find my trees, and I'll come in here eventually with the tractor and lay all this grass on the ground, and I can either leave it sit on the ground or I can rake it up onto the tree beds. So here's one of the tree beds here. We've got a few casuarinas, pigeon pea poking out, doing nicely. So these trees were planted in September, October. Again with my wonderful bloody volunteers from the various Steiner schools that visit here. But you know, this is a dream, this paddock. The legumes are coming. We've got lots of phasey beans starting to colonise now. If you don't know phasey bean, it's basically an annual legume. It's one of the early legumes they used in the dairy industry. Used to feed it to the cows in the bale, the seed, and the cows would then lay it in little poo piles in the paddock, and so the process of going through the cow softened the hard coating on the seed and allowed it to germinate. So you can see this paddock. We've got interesting results in this paddock. Right up the back there, you can see the pigeon pea are quite brilliant. That's a different soil type there. That's the high bank of the creek. And all this lower area was saturated wet when we planted it, and it had been saturated wet for a lot of the summer. So I think a lot of the seeds that we put in, pigeon pea, etc., I think a lot of them may have rotted. Too much moisture. But yeah, that's that. And this, if we swing around now, will give you a bit of an idea of what the cows have done in this stuff. They've just laid this stuff flat on the ground. They were in this paddock for about 5 days, I think. 4 hectare paddock with 60 head of animals in the mob. But they've done a job of just laying this stuff on the ground. The predominant pasture species in here is now become Angleton grass, which grows up. You can see, you can get a look at it here across the fence. I'm having a real struggle here with electric fences. This is one of, I think, 3 electric fences that I've still got on the farm. But the grass in this environment, subtropical, with the abundance of CO2 in the atmosphere, the grass growth is just over the top, and I mean it's over the top of the fences. So these electric fences, if I've got electric fences, then I have to come along with a slasher, slash either side of it, and then brush cut underneath it to clear the fence so that we get a few volts going through it. Otherwise this grass just grows up over the top, pulls the wires down, earths everything out, and it's just not a good look. So I've rolled a lot of electric fences up, and the next evolution is the e-shepherd, the virtual fencing. And I'm in the process with my cows. I've just turned off a wedge of half of my older cows. I've got a few more of them to go, and then I'm going to take out all my 18-month-old steers and market them, and I'll be back to basically a core of younger cattle, and I'm going to put the e-shepherd collars on them and get them trained up. I'm not going to train a whole lot of animals unnecessarily. I'd rather just come back to a nice little mob that we can play with while we learn the technology of e-shepherd, and then it'll be bye-bye to the electric fences. But this is the old irrigation flats down here from the dairying days. So this is some of the country that was probably most severely challenged on this farm. And here we are 11 years into my management using biodynamics and time controlled grazing. And this country had a flood over it 3 years ago, and since that flood 3 years ago, this country has really woken up, and this whole program of planting trees onto it is waking it up another notch or two. And of course, while the trees are young, I'm not putting cows into it, so I'm going to manage the pasture with mechanically, and probably get into making hay bales out of it. We can either cart that hay to the top of the hill and let it melt down back into the landscape. But yeah, we've got a massive turnaround in the pastures that are growing down here. As I said, a lot of legumes coming in the bottom. We're still summer dominant. I'm hoping longer term that I can drive this system through to more winter species, winter actives, but it's impossible to get things like clovers and lucerne growing in a swath of grass like this. So at this stage it's just managing this great biomass that the grass is delivering, and the few legumes that can live in it, like the phasey bean, are adding to the mix, and the soil's improving out of sight. So yeah, we got a shift going on here, and my cows are pretty happy with the deal. And yeah, that's a quick update on the floodplain project. In the background behind the cows there is the initial trees that were planted on the floodplain. They're now just over 3 years old, and they're cow-proof now. But I've got that whole floodplain now from here right across. So we've 200 metres from Wide Bay Creek in the background there, and we're 400 metres the other dimension of the paddock. So we've got a floodplain and riparian zone now that's all planted up. So yeah, 400 metres by 200 metres. So we've got, you know, habitat to bring wildlife off the creek and restore the fertility in this landscape. And the cows are just working over these paddocks. I'd slashed and raked these paddocks into tree beds, these two, but I got a bit leery of the flooding potential, so I stopped planting down here. I thought I'll get onto the higher ground, and so I've now given these paddocks back to the cows to manage, and they'll just get better for that anyhow. So it's bye-bye from the cows of Cambacho, and it's bye-bye from me.